Hello, 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 and welcome back. It is AIMBOT resurrected. And lo, on the third day, the AIMBOT did rise, and my camera is very out of focus. I do apologize. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to do a brief cleanup. But thank you so much for joining me on this very historic day where basically we're doing the AIMBOT thing, which has been gone for a long time due to sort of it was a protest sort of cancel of Reddit, which does seem to be over. And so back by your demand, by popular demand, by overwhelming pressure and just sheer gratuitous demand on me, aimbot is back, baby. It is back. And so what's aimbot? What is this aimbot thing? So basically it's I'm morally bankrupt or them. So we're just going to be going through am I the asshole on Reddit and finding situations, finding who's to blame, who's not to blame, having conversations about it, having a vote on it. Yes, we're going to vote on it. That's certainly one thing I will keep from last time. I fully expect certain people, I'm looking at you, Titan, to come in and break my poll completely because that's what happens. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way. So the focus of this is going to be my own kind of, well, from my perspective, of course, I'm going to be going through my own personal moral system, which is sort of a intent based consequentialism, or what we would reasonably think the consequences of actions to be, with an aim at sort of a utility of human well-being. If you don't understand those words because they're sort of philosophy stuff, I get you. It just means that we're going to be looking through and saying, or I'm going to be looking through and saying, hey, could this reasonably lead to the well-being of somebody? Could it reasonably be to the detriment of somebody, either their physical or mental health? Maybe no one's to blame. Maybe the person really had the best intentions in mind and it just went askew. But we can discuss all of that and sort of, your moral system may be different. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear how you're putting together who's right and who's wrong. Not just sort of saying, hey, well, they're wrong. I think the important thing is, why are they wrong? That's the important thing for me. That's the real important thing. And it sort of ties in with my channel because I do like talking about morality. I do like all of that stuff. And the problem with religions, in my view, is their reasoning as to why someone is right or someone is wrong is basically because my book says, or because God says, basically, which doesn't cover a lot of ground for me. It doesn't do much work, in my opinion. Let me just get this screen up, and I'll just enlarge it so we can read it. Yeah, and I will start. Now, I haven't seen these before. I'm basically just going through the very first one as far as date is concerned. Like, so the last one posted. And yeah, just going through them one at a time. I don't actually need audio for this, which is great because StreamYard sort of has butchered my audio lately. Yes, so I can zoom a bit more in. That's good. That's good. Maybe I can get a bit of a better picture and layout. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Okay. Um, I wonder if there's a way I can get rid. That should be readable. That should be readable. Is there one more? Good. One more. One more. No, that's not what I meant to do. That is not what I meant to do. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. I am zooming the wrong screen. No. Oh, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. It's gone wrong already. Someone save it. Save the bot. There we go. There we go. One more? No, that's too much. Okay, okay. Actually, I probably should be in it. Okay. I can probably do the outside thing. I can probably do the outside thing. No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want either. Uh, help somebody. There we go. 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 Okay. Look, it's a work in progress, people. Just relax. Relax. Where is my chat? I want my chat. Hello, everybody. This is going to be a work in progress for the first episode. I will get the swing of it again. You do. Hello, Al, and I just want to give a big shout out to a few of the people out there. Maya's out there. Hello, Maya. Robin's out there. Hello, Robin. Big bad mama, as always. Someone's always to blame when you're. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I'm not sure you're right, but I hear you. Yeah. It's usually you, to be honest with you. But let's just. Okay. Am I morally bankrupt for not going to my friend's wedding? What's a wedding? What is a wedding? I don't understand that. Any ceremony that's marrying people is a wedding. Like, you might not think it's a traditional wedding, but I what it what so my first thought on this, even with just reading the title, is like, well, you're not sort of even considering it as a real wedding. You think it's like what I feel like my first instinct, and oh yeah, let me say this, just a disclaimer, none of this is supposed to be advice. The situations, morality and situations are incredibly complex. Don't take this as advice. It's just my opinion as written. And as always, this is only one side of the story. So it's only one side of usually what's very complex issues. So, really it's just my opinion, sort of at face value of these posts. I don't claim to understand. Yeah, I really think that this is you're not giving, like, you're not acknowledging that they're even having a wedding. You're sort of putting it in air quotes, which is a problem for me. I'm really sorry. That's an issue because what is, what I don't know what that means. I don't know what a wedding in air quotes means. Okay. A few months ago, a friend of mine told me she was getting married. It was meant to be a regular wedding, but it wasn't meant to be a regular wedding, but more of an elopement kind of thing. Okay, that's still a wedding, even if they elope to get married. I don't. What is that? Okay, we were supposed to be her, the groom. We were supposed to be her, the groom, me as maid of honor, and a best man, plus a few close family members. About 10 people in total was planned for early November. I say, oh, here we go. It's an explanation. I say wedding like that in the title because there'll be no invites, no save the date, no ceremony, no walk down the aisle, just courthouse and dinner. That comes from the bride herself. I'm not guessing anything. Okay, that's still a wedding. I don't like what. Why is that still not a wedding? I don't understand. I don't get it. That's still a wedding. It's still a ceremony to marry people. That is a wedding. Like, just because you're not doing the traditional or expected wedding, like, my wife and I just went to, like, we didn't do a courthouse thing, but we didn't have a big fancy thing. We just went to a lovely botanical garden and got married by a celebrant there. It's still a wedding. There's no save the date. It can't possibly be a real wedding. Oh, come on. Don't think that way. A week ago, I got the news that I got a permanent job. I don't know how to explain it because this is a very typical thing from my country, Spain. So Spanish, from wherever. So often the government will hire professionals to work either in the administration or public institutions, education, high school. This is usually a great opportunity because those positions are for life, well until you retire, and they can never fire you. In order to apply for those positions, you have to take an exam, and then depending on your years of service to the institution, the score you get on the exam, you can get one of those jobs. Okay, so there was a big opportunity for employment, and you got a permanent job. You had gotten a permanent job, or you're applying for a permanent job? You'd gotten a permanent job. Okay, well, yeah, I kind of. I'm not sure about employment for life. I think that would, I don't know. Maybe that obviously it's a thing. Long story short, I took my exam last year, and last week I got told I got one of the jobs, but I'll be moving cities for that. When I told my friend this, the only thing she said is, "When are you leaving? Can you still come to my wedding?" No congratulations, no I'm happy for you, nothing. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's slightly self-centered, but maybe the stress of the wedding was playing on her mind. I don't know. Um, I must add, 2 weeks ago, I talked to her to know when we were having dinner for a wedding, and she said she didn't have anything planned yet, let alone booked. Had she told me she had everything booked and that she really needed my RSVP, I would have understood her answer. But in that context, I've decided the only thing she cares about is her and her wedding, and she can't be happy for me. I'm not going to the wedding. Okay, so I don't understand. Like, so she's maybe she's being slightly self-centered, like not caring about your job. I get that. You're upset that she didn't offer you congratulations. She's just like, can you still come to the wedding? But um obviously she cares enough about you that she wants you to be there. So maybe this is a thing that's preying on her mind. Maybe she just didn't consider your feelings. Okay. But you've decided you're not going to a wedding, not because you can't, but because she didn't congratulate you in the way that you wanted on the job that you've got. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand. So I would understand if you would say, "Hey, I'm actually leaving before the wedding, and I can't attend." Then definitely not. But you're just doing this as retribution. You're just doing this as, well. I don't want to attend your wedding because I didn't get an expected reaction from you, which I don't think is a very mature way to handle the situation. I think that a lot better would be to say to them, the person who is your friend, to say to them, "Hey, this hurt. This really hurt that you didn't say this kind of thing. That you didn't congratulate me." Um, I do know, even with my small wedding, I do know that kind of, the expectations of a wedding sort of preys on your mind, and sometimes it's all you're kind of thinking about. I get that. So I would put it that it's not great that she didn't say congratulations or whatever. I'm wondering if she even maybe she does know how big a deal it was. Um, but sort of, just going, well, I'm not going to your wedding then, is not, is not probably the way I would react. But 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 we do. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. And I will get this done. What's gone wrong? Oh, there we go. Yep. Mm. Well, let's while that poll is going, let's have a look at some of the concepts. Well, let's not have a look at that one. That's an ad for PCs. What do we got? You're the asshole. Well, your friend's reaction may have seemed dismissive as posture was caught the stress of wedding planning and didn't say, yeah, and wedding planning is a bit a bit of a stretch when you're just going to the courthouse and dinner, but still, it can really, like, I do know that, my wife and I, that the wedding really played on our head. Like, we're who it was really, really tiny, but still we were like, well, how are people going to get there? We've got to provide this, we've got to provide that. Like, will the celebrant be there? The photographer, it still is a little bit of a stress. Friendship and express your feelings rather than making assumptions. I got to agree with Aurora Sexy here. Aurora Sexy. What wedding planning and stress? 4 people having dinner. It still can prey on your mind. You're wrong. Like, even if it's tiny, some people don't react well to weddings. I know I didn't. It wasn't something that I wanted to be big and planning out, and it still was sort of stressful because of the sort of social situation. Yes, it's rude. You didn't congratulate for your job, but in your post, you're denigrating a wedding by putting in quotes. It's clear you're to play an important role. Maid of honor, yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree. What's people in the chat saying? What's the standard of your morality? Peter, you weren't there for the start, obviously, where I sort of took it through. So my moral system is based upon I've been playing around with the ideas that sort of an intent consequentialism and utilitarianism is really what I'm after. So really, what I'm looking at is a reasonable expectation, or a reasonable expectation of consequences. So, for instance, if a doctor reasonably thinks or has a reasonable expectation he can save somebody's life, then regardless of the outcome, regardless of the consequence, that expected consequence is whether it is good or bad. And we measure that against, or I measure that against, the utility of human well-being, how that comes out. So if a doctor tries to save somebody's life and fails and they die, that was still a good act because the reasonable outcome should have been good for human well-being. However, if they do a risky surgery, something that isn't sanctioned by medical officers, just incredibly risky for no reason, and so the reasonable expectation is that that'll harm them, then that's immoral, even if they have some sort of they get away with it or whatever. So really, I'm looking at it from that perspective. I don't know why it's if it's subjective. Of course, it is to them that they are morally bankrupt. Well, the question is, how are they measuring this, and why is it sort of thinking that way? Do we have a way to coherently and with intellectual consistency measure all these things against one another? So I'm not sure why we would say that. Plus, a good question is not so much morally bankrupt as ethically bankrupt. Like, would this be good for the society if everybody ran around doing this? And I would say with this one, no. So I'm not sure if you're suggesting there's objective morality. I don't know how objective morality would even apply to this. It just does seem to depend what you are saying is an objective morality. Let's see. Big Bad Mama says they're both wrong. Both are only looking at their own situation, not acknowledging what is important to the other person. They're both selfish when it comes to their friendship. That's a fair point. But I think that in terms of selfishness, somebody sort of not congratulating you for a job and the maid of honor basically not going to the wedding because they're offended. I think that's on a different level. I think that one sort of when we're looking at moral things, I think we should take into account the intent that is behind it, right? So if somebody drops something on my foot, I can't say, hey, they're morally wrong, because it's an accident. They weren't aware of what they're doing. So we got to give some leeway for intent. And I've often, well, I'm not know about often, but I've spoken before about when we call things evil, I think it is the intent to harm behind it, right? That is the intent behind it. Something may be immoral and not rise to the level of evil, because even though the action was wrong, it wasn't done with an intent to harm. So one of these may not be done with an intent to harm, right? I don't think that from the story the original poster did, I don't think that her friend was snubbing her in order to hurt her. I think it may have just been, sort of just insensitivity without realizing it. Where the other is an intent to harm. Like she is going, well, I'm going to punish her because she offended or didn't acknowledge my success in life. No, I get you. It is, and it is insensitive. But you've got to ask: was that done in order to harm? Right? Was that done? Or that's what I'd be asking: is that done or is it just this person is just insensitive? Because we've all been insensitive in the past, and it may not be moral, but I don't think it rises to the level of saying, "Well, I'm not going to the thing." Oh, hello, Sarah. Well, if you drive 50 grand on it, doesn't count. Absolutely. It's got a 50 grand minimum. 50 grand minimum to be a real wedding. 50 grand minimum. I've twice attended a wedding when it was a destination one, and my wife and I twice went alone to a separate destination wedding because the cost was huge. And that's totally fair. That's totally fair. Absolutely. Whatever your ceremony is, whatever your thing, but at the same time, you can't expect people to make unreasonable sacrifices for your ceremony, kind of thing. Yeah, I totally understand, Al. It's sort of, yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. All right, let's wrap that one up. And we have, wow, it's a tie between everyone is morally bankrupt and everyone is blameless. So you both think everybody and no one did the right thing. What's up with you, chat? What's up with you? What's going on? What's going on? Am I the asshole for telling my mother-in-law she made her bed, so lay in it? Well, depends what it is, really. It depends what it is. It depends how upset your mother-in-law is. You know what? This is kind of like I told you so kind of stuff. Sometimes I think so. I told you so is one of those things people don't receive well, and I understand why. But I must admit I sometimes struggle with social situations too, and I sort of, we do have a tendency to go, well, I told you, and as much as I try to keep a lid on it, sometimes I do that, and sometimes it is the truth. Maybe it's not politically correct, but sometimes people have to hear it. Like, they have to. So I don't necessarily think this is the wrong thing to do. I think what I would do is look at what's the consequences for telling them that? Are you just trying to make them feel bad, or is this something that they really ought to learn to prevent it in the future? And that being said, when someone ought to learn something, old people are, very, very hard to change their behavior. Anyway, and this is from _name not taken. Okay, gotcha. My husband and I are in our early 30s, married for a few years, but together for 11. Okay, gotcha. Throughout this time, we often argued due to my in-laws' behavior, but specifically mother-in-law. There are many examples I could make, but to sum it up, she has been controlling not only to my husband, but also to me. The mother-in-law of the guy. Yes. Her baby boy. Yes. Okay. Well, I'll take it at face value. It may be true. It may not be true. We don't know, but we'll take it as face value, as read. I could make even going so far as pressuring my husband to make me do what she wanted regarding situations that didn't concern her at all. Disrespectful towards me, overall invasive and demanding, you name it. The only thing she has not done is directly insult me to my face. I kept telling my husband I was over their behavior and to put a stop to it, but he never really acted decisively. So mother-in-law never really stopped. Okay. So first off, you cannot ask somebody to change their behavior directly. You can't say you have to do this. Generally, people will not do it if you say it like that. Ultimatums are generally something we probably want to avoid. You know, ultimatums like you do this or else. I think that sort of what I've been sort of taught and what probably is more helpful is setting boundaries of things that are unacceptable and basically having your actions in place to avoid those situations or take actions on those situations to avoid it happening in the future. So sort of saying to your husband, hey, and this is just my opinion, hey, I really I would prefer it if your mother doesn't do this. If it does, I'm going to have to, take some actions, and then you have to put in some actions in place to avoid it. But this is sort of not even discussing it with your mother-in-law. This is asking your partner to take action on your behalf, which is, I'm not sure is a great idea. I'm not sure it's because your husband doesn't want you to talk to your mother-in-law about it. Maybe. It's very difficult to tell from these situations. Morals and solvency are sometimes an equitable clarification. What do you mean by solvency, Aurelius? Do you mean like financial solvency? What do you... I'm not sure. Like, do you mean sort of as in moral payment kind of thing? I'm not sure what you exactly mean by that. Maybe you can clarify it for me. Time after time, I would put up a happy front and bite my tongue not to cause drama. Well, there's your problem as well. You're basically not showing that you're upset about it. You're not. So the thing is, if you're not actually acknowledging how it makes you feel, you're kind of expecting them to know and then telling your husband to take it up with them. I think that, so this is the thing, when you act like sort of against your nature in order to keep your husband happy or keep your mother-in-law happy or basically to pander to somebody else, resentment's going to build up. That's a surefire way for resentment, because you don't want to, obviously this is piled up. I 100% see this is piled up. Everything keeps piling up and I'm always on the verge of blowing up whenever I'm around them. I told my husband I'd like to limit contact for at least a while, but he insists we go to visit. Yeah, see, that's not a good idea. My husband is always aware of how much I'm affected by this. That's not a good idea. Like, you can't just go, well, suck it up because it's my mother-in-law. If you're the whole idea of having boundaries is that if anybody crosses those boundaries, it doesn't matter who it is, right? It doesn't matter if it's your husband, if it's your wife, if it's your sister, if it's your mother-in-law, if it's anybody. Like, those boundaries are there for a reason, because they cause you mental discomfort and mental harm. You've got to have those boundaries. And if you feel like those boundaries are being violated, if you're going to violate, like just sort of allow people to violate your boundaries to please somebody else, that will breed resentment. There is no way it cannot. So I think that's a mistake of your husband. Anyway, we meet up and mother-in-law starts with her usual antics. I stay quiet until I've had enough and start talking back to her. I did not insult her, but I wouldn't let anything slide like I usually do, and highlighted every inappropriate or invasive comment. She is surprised and asked me what came onto me. I never acted like this, and so on. In a fit of rage, I wasn't yelling and I spoke calmly and slowly, but our emotional state was crystal clear. You couldn't mistake it for a lighthearted remark. I told her she's been disrespecting me for years and this is what she's getting now. And she made her bed so she should just lay in it. Okay. Well, I mean, I can't say that it's it's totally understandable that you're angry, but from your mother-in-law's perspective, you've gone from calm to angry in like 1 second. The only problem you had was just not maintaining your boundaries. And it's good that you're putting your boundaries up now. Things got tensed, and when we left, I'm upset and finally feel liberated for standing up for myself. Husband seems torn. Mother-in-law is obviously livid. Husband has now said he agrees and understands my emotional state on the matter, but wants to keep the peace and just apologize. No. The only problem is that you sucked up these comments without saying anything. So it seems like it comes from nowhere. You should have said stuff earlier. You should have said, hey, that's really inappropriate. You know, but the problem is that it builds resentment. Resentment leads to frustration. Frustration leads to rage, and it's all come out at once. So your mother-in-law just thinks, oh, they've gone from, you know, a nice person to nasty all at once kind of. No, that isn't what happened. She's been triggering you for ages, but you should have spoken up at the very start. I refused and said I'd only be open to revisit the relationship. I see some change and effort to be at least cordial and mutually respectful. I absolutely will not apologize for anything I said because I mean it and would do again. I reminded him that he had many chances to stand up to them, and I also said no one involved would enjoy it. I'd have to stand up for myself, and he never took me seriously. I also said I never insulted her or yelled at her, so apologizing for my reaction to my comments sounds incredibly backwards. Am I an asshole? No, not really. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that you've finally stood up for yourself. You've put some boundaries up. However, you know, a conversation where you say, hey, look, I'm sorry I was so frustrated, but that had to be said, or I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for the way that I did it. I'm sorry. Here's what you do. You say, I'm sorry I didn't say anything earlier and it came as a surprise, but I have felt this way for a long time. That's probably the apology that you want to give. That you're sorry that she's sort of taken aback by how sort of sudden that I could probably live with if I was in your shoes. But I'm not apologizing for being honest and upfront about sort of giving my boundaries and where you have crossed them. Like, I think that people, for the sake of getting along, they sort of let people just tread all over your boundaries, and it's important to maintain them. And it's okay to give where you feel that, hey, it's okay to give. That's fine. That's totally fine. Where you feel like, hey, I want this relationship, or I want this them to think this of me, or I want this relationship to go further. But if that's crossing your boundaries, you're going to resent them if you just suck it up. So I'll start the poll. I'll see what you people have to say. Big Bad Mama. She said he never really acted decisively, so mother-in-law never really stopped. Is it the husband's job to acknowledge the mother-in-law's past behavior and talk to his mother about her disrespect? No, it's not his job. I would hope that he would support his wife, and if he sort of expecting his wife to suck it up and be nice, even though her boundaries are being sort of violated, that's not cool either, right? That's not cool. I don't think the husband is particularly being supportive to the wife, but I don't know the dynamics of their relationship. I think that she may, in fact, be justified in sort of saying, hey, you aren't supporting me, in the same way I would support you if that happened to you. Because really, in my opinion, what a marriage is, it's sort of an equitable arrangement that if one person will support another in that situation, then the same should be reciprocated. So it's all about reciprocity. If they don't have that kind of supportive relationship, and some marriages don't, then you know it's kind of tough. But yeah, I don't think she's an arsehole for not budging. I think that she truly believes that she's being disrespected. And again, this is from only one side of the story, and we're taking this at face value that it is true. She's being disrespected, and she should have his boundaries. Um, So, top comment. Not the arsehole for the moment, but you've been treating yourself poorly for years, staying with a man who is willing to sit by silently while you are being treated disrespectfully and ask you to take the poor treatment to keep the peace. Why did you marry him before this got resolved? Oh, come on, dude. Like, seriously. Are you serious? And look, it may not have been like this until, a bit later. I don't. Come on. Why didn't you? Maybe she loves him and wants to be with him, and maybe she thought she could overcome the mother-in-law. Come on, dude. How I pen? Come on. Like, why didn't you use your crystal ball and know that the mother would? Come on. Maybe she thought that once she was married, the mother-in-law would have more respect, because some families are like that, until you actually are married. Some old-fashioned people, they're like, well, that's just a girlfriend. And when they get married, they're like, okay, that's now a member of the family. Some people have that kind of thing. I'm not one of them, but maybe, who knows? But come on. At least at this point, you don't have kids. If he does want kids, then find a good counselor and insist on establishing boundaries with the in-laws. Turn for a baby into this toxic family. Well, I don't know the behavior, but hey, not the asshole. Hubby is used to this treatment for his mother. Okay. I might close up and just see the original comments. I don't really want to see the discussion. Not the asshole. You're a saint. Your husband needs to step up and be better. If he can't stand up to you with present, I highly doubt he does. Oh, with you present, I highly doubt he does behind your back. Makes you wonder what mother-in-law says when you're not there and why she's comfortable enough to say it to him. Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah. Not the asshole. 1,000% correct. Do not budge on this. Do not. Your husband digging in his heels and refusing to resolve this mother is making it much worse. This is not on you. Yeah, I kind of agree with the Redditors. It's a bit of a weird one. But I think that the husband, I think he's getting a huge amount of blame when I mean, he might not be to blame. He might sort of, just say stuff. Okay. It's the husband's job. Yeah. I think I read that out already. Yeah, I get you. She spoke multiple times to the husband. He was afraid to confront the old. Oh, come on, big bad mama. They're right. It's the husband who's the asshole. I would probably, I don't think so. I don't think so. I understand that people with their parents, they may have a relationship where they might not stand up to them, right? Like that sometimes happens. What I would do is just not bother to be pleasant and happy and put on a smile kind of thing. I would just sort of, you know, establish those boundaries and go, hey, well, your relationship with your parents is not my relationship with your parents. I will have my own with my own limiters and factors. I don't expect anybody to stand up for me. Like I don't, I cannot have the expectation that you will do anything on my behalf. But the sort of expecting to maintain a relationship via proxy is not a great idea. Just saying. Like expecting, oh, could you talk to this person because they did this to me? This isn't high school. This is real life. This isn't high school where you go, oh, well, they were mean to me. So could you go talk to them? No, go talk to them. Right? If they're gonna be an ass about it, well, okay, they're an ass about it. If they're gonna be mean about it, they're mean about it. Then you go, well, we've got to put some boundaries up. But you can't expect people to work on your relationships on your behalf. I'm sorry, that's what I believe. I think that if you've got a problem with somebody, asking anybody else to go and sort it out is not the way to go. That doesn't make her, a morally, you know, culpable, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that she's morally bankrupt. I'm just saying that, the husband, while he can support sort of expecting him to do so much more, I wouldn't agree. I think that she needed to have this conversation where she says, no, this will not be happening ages ago. Not him, her. But that's my opinion. Yours may differ. I don't think that she's the asshole. I think that the mother-in-law is. I think that the mother-in-law absolutely should not be controlling and manipulative. But that's just my opinion. Yours may differ. It's complex. It is complex. So what we got? Only 3 votes, and we have a tie between original poster is morally bankrupt, original poster did the right thing, and everyone is blameless. Well, no, I don't blame you. It is a very, very complex situation. Not the asshole. Why are you married to a sniveling mama's boy? Oh, for fuck's sake. Really? Redditors, if anyone should apologize, it's your husband. Yeah, I get you. I really don't think that you should expect your husband to really. He's cool with mother-in-law being feisty, but not his wife. I'd be threatening divorce. Well, you can if you want to. That's fine. This is the thing. This is the thing about Redditors, okay? The thing you got to understand about Redditors is that this woman may really love her husband and want to be with him and has, a lot of hopes and dreams and ambitions with him in her life. This is the thing. They're just like, oh, I'd think about divorce. This may be the only problem in their relationship. Why can't we sort this out? Why can't this be a thing we can sort out? I don't know. It's you can ask your husband to stand up more. And yeah, I think that maybe he could. If it were me, I certainly would be. I certainly would be. To talk a bit about my own life, my mother was not thrilled about my current wife, about Lynn, at first. She wasn't thrilled about it. And I would not hear, like, I was like, no, she is my this is before we were married. I'm like, she is my partner. I'm living with her. We're de facto married. You will respect her, or I'm not having, if you are disrespecting her, I'm not engaging with you if you're going to treat her badly, because she is the love of my life in no uncertain terms. Later on down the relationship, she actually, because Lynn doesn't talk a lot. She's very shy, very intelligent, wonderful person, very, very reserved and introspective, and just a quiet person. Once my mother had actually sort of watched a movie, sat down and talked with her and actually got to know her, her opinion just completely flipped, just completely flipped. So yeah, I think it is good to stand up for your partner and sort of say, hey, this is how I treat them. I expect my family to treat them the same, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that I think that in this situation, yes, providing a solid combined front is probably the best way to go. But you can't expect somebody to talk about relationships to you. Oh, thanks, Aunt Chair. Yeah, my mother and I had a very, very complex and tumultuous at times relationship. Um, I we fought and did not get along if we lived together. Like when I was younger, growing up, we really, really disagreed on a whole bunch of things. Um, she yeah, her and I did not get along. As soon as I was out of the house and living by myself, or living with somebody else later on, we got along great. Like we just couldn't live together, that's all. Like sort of under the same roof, no. Once I was out doing my own thing, I had a fantastic relationship with my mother. You know, I think it's sort of the idea that sort of you're living in my house, so it's my rules. Just no, no. You can't do that to kids. Like you have to have rules there for their protection and to encourage them, not just, well, I'm the owner, so therefore this is a rule. I think from my perspective anyway, and that's just as a sort of young man and not as a parent. Um, if you start making rules just because it's your house with no real point to them, you're going to lose a lot of respect. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, maybe, but she might still love him. So what do you do from there? I think you do set boundaries that you will not be violated, and do whatever you can to preserve those boundaries. I think that that's what you do, regardless of whether and then you have to start thinking about consequences of, well, if you just say, hey, I am not going to engage with your mother if she does this again, and put that as a very clear boundary, then your husband has to make a decision. Is he going to go for the Christmas dinner to your mother-in-law's, or is he not? Is he going to, have these family days? Odds are that he's probably not going to see her as much, and she won't like that. And there's a very easy remedy to give her for that. Start respecting his wife, and then you will see more of your husband. Very simple, very easy. Very, very easy. All right. Well, that was no bloody help at all. Chat. We've had two ties in two posts. So, I mean, come on. What are you doing? Is Titan here messing up my polls? I don't know. Okay, this one's from Process Philly. Hello, Process Philly. Am I the arsehole for unindicting my brother from my wedding? Probably yes, depending on what he did. I, 29 female, are getting married in a few months, and I've been working hard to make it a special day for everyone. But have you guys noticed the amount of marriage posts in this? I tell you what, there are some minefields in relationships, and one of them appears to be marriage, right? The other one appears to be like high school reunions. And what was the other one? I think pets is another minefield. But marriages, the amount of marriage drama in these posts, it's just insane. It's insane. But I'm here for it. So 29, getting married in a few months, and we're working hard to make it a special day for everyone involved. My brother, 31 male, has always been active in local politics, which has led to some heated family debates. Well, I'd hope your brother is male. I'd hope he's a man. Even if he wasn't born a man, I hope he's a man. He's currently running for a local office, and while I support his ambitions, his constant political talk has been a source of tension in our family. Ah, yes. Okay, so political talk. Last week during my bridal shower, my brother took it upon himself to make a surprise announcement. In the middle of the event, he gave an impromptu speech about his political campaign, complete with campaign slogans and a request for donations. Oh, wow. The atmosphere immediately shifted from celebratory to uncomfortable. Guests were visibly confused and annoyed, and some even left early. After the event, I told my brother that his stunt was inappropriate and I couldn't have him turning my wedding into a political platform. I explained I wanted the day to be about our love and celebration, not political agendas, and I asked him to either keep politics out of the wedding or not to attend. My brother is furious, claiming that I'm trying to suppress his voice. Oh, God, Elon. Wow. And that I'm being unreasonable. Our parents are also upset, saying I'm being unfair and should accommodate his campaign because it's important to him. What? I'm feeling conflicted because I don't want to create a rift in the family, but I also don't want my wedding to become a political event. Am I the asshole for uninviting my brother from my wedding after his political announcement at my bridal shower? No. No. Asterisk. Okay, so yeah, I don't think she's being an asshole. It depends, in my opinion. I think that like so love and celebration, not political agendas. Okay. Okay, so here's the problem. In my experience, some sort of politics will always come up at weddings. You know, there's always going to be um, Uncle Tony who wants to talk about why the immigrants are flooding over the borders and stuff. You know, like it just some politics usually happens in some weddings. So I think keep politics out is a very strong statement. I think it's better off to say, hey, no campaigning kind of thing, rather than keep politics out. Although, I don't know how she phrased it, but you should accommodate his campaign because it's important that no, you don't have to do that. No, absolutely not an arsehole. If they're saying, oh, well, you should let your brother campaign at your wedding. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you may, oh, did I forget to upvote the last couple? I did. I'm going to upvote that. Yay! We got the 1K peeps. I don't think so. I think you're being perfectly reasonable saying, hey, you know, no political campaigning at my wedding. Like, come on. Yeah, I don't know why you have to accommodate his political campaign at all. Like, at anything. Like, seriously, I really think that you have a right to have a wedding about whatever you want. And you have a right to invite or not invite people depending on their behavior. I think accommodations have got to be made for somebody's behavior, but if you're worried that they're going to hijack your wedding, then no. I think this can be solved by just a little bit more talking with your brother, girl, and say, hey, you can still talk politics, just no speeches about politics or about, I think we can find a middle ground here. But I really think that no, not morally bankrupt at all. If that's an important boundary for you, then absolutely. But I think that compromise in this situation would be very, very good. Like, for instance, you can say, hey, you're not making a speech, right? And do try to keep the political talk down. Have some fun, relax. You don't have to bring politics into everything. There's other stuff to talk about. Be like everybody else and talk about the freaking weather. Like, come on. Like, everybody's got to do small talk, and politics is not ever small talk. It's never small talk. It kind of sucks for your brother if that's all that he talks about. I get that he's got a specific focus, but it's a wedding. You really should be there to go, hey, doesn't the bride look beautiful? Isn't the groom a handsome man? I don't think it's a place that you should be doing political speeches. If he's going to do a speech about the happiness of the day and the love. Do a speech about the sanctity of marriage if you want, and how wonderful marriage is, if that's what he wants to do. Like, come on now, do a speech, that's appropriate. I totally get that. Your wedding is not a free stop on his political campaign trail. He can raise his own money for it. Absolutely. Yes. No, I totally agree. She was right to boot the brother from the wedding after blatant money grubbing and disrespect bridal shower. Probably a MAGA cultist, and the parents are too. That's why they took their side. Well, maybe. I mean, it's unclear, of course, but suppress his voice is kind of telling. Okay, Elon Musk. Okay. Okay, Trump. Yeah. Oh, hey, Stacy. Good to see you. Hello. Peter says, couldn't live under the same room with Mark Reed because the roof would be under the house. Yeah, absolutely. Do electric cars get better miles per gallon? That's a category error. Gallon of what? I'm not sure if electricity is measured in gallons, to be honest with you, but what do I know? Oh dear. It's probably measured in watts, I would imagine, which is sort of volts per hour, power over time. Okay, what do the Redditors say? Kate Capella says, not the arsehole. There is a time and place for most things, but your bridal shower is not the place for this. Disappointed the parents went on their side. Yeah, got to agree. If you really want to re-invite your brother to the wedding, I'll do the following. Tell him that if he does any sort of political campaigning, he'll be thrown out, and you are not kidding around. If he does get security to throw him out, warn your parents about this so they know the deal. Even further, this is the thing about weddings and sort of especially traditional weddings. If you're planning it, you probably do. So the groom will have a whole bunch of guys there, right? Like, you will have guys. Even the social stigma can, if you let your groomsmen and your bridesmaids know, they can do a lot of damage control for you and a lot of social engineering for you. And I know that sounds bad, but you can sort of get them to say, hey, that's not cool, man. Like, the whole traditional part of the wedding is that the bridesmaids and the groomsmen are there to look after you, basically, which is really cool. And it's sort of, they do the heavy lifting. So if the groomsman does have a whole bunch of big burly guys, just let him know, hey, this guy is, he will be thrown out. And I don't know why somebody would do that at a wedding. It would just be, I get you though. Some people have no shame. They have no shame about what they're doing, and it's terrible. But yeah, I got to agree. Not the arsehole. Did I put the poll up? Have I? Oh, I did put the poll up. Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm on it. Not the arsehole at all. It's your special day, not his networking event. Yeah. If they want to be upset, they can stay home and miss the big day. Yes. Not the arsehole. Your wedding is not the venue for his grandstanding. You aren't suppressing his voice to take in politics elsewhere. Not sure why you didn't put a stop to it in the shower immediately, though. That is a good point. At the shower, you should have said, hey, this isn't cool. This is not cool. You stop now. And that's the thing. Sort of when you let your boundaries down to accommodate others, when you sort of go, oh, well, there's no problem with that generally people will do it again, not even because they want to violate your boundaries again, but just because they're unaware. People are mostly, even myself, I'm oblivious to some people's boundaries sometimes, and I don't know I've upset them until they tell me. And I'm glad when they do, because then I can say, oh, I'm sorry, or this is what I was trying to do, or I don't think that I've done anything wrong. You can actually have a conversation about it. Send him a bill for his party. His campaign donations can pay for it. It was not a political event. He hijacked your party. I do like that word, though. He hijacked your party, because absolutely, yeah. No, I get you. That's totally unacceptable. Complete arsehole, quite frankly. Uninvite him if he can't control himself. Yeah. At high security to make sure he didn't show up and try to campaign. Damn. Look, brides become bridezillas, but you're not asking for anything crazy. It's supposed to be your day, and he's clearly making this about himself, especially if he blows up over such a minor request. You're not telling him he can't answer people when they ask him how it's going. You're telling him your wedding day is not an appropriate place for a political rally. Is your brother Trump, by the way? If once made about himself, you're fine telling you to do it too. Yeah. Politics have no place at weddings. Yeah, I kind of agree. But it's disturbing how much they show up. Like I said, like Uncle Tony will talk about the immigrants, and suddenly two people are in a political. Like, I don't think it's reasonable to say, hey, nobody can discuss any kind of politics. But at the same time, having a political rally is not cool at all in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Okay, so original post did the right thing. We have a consensus, peeps. We have the consensus has been reached. Thank you, chat. We've got an opinion. That one was pretty cut and dry, though. I do feel for her, but at the same time, no, nobody's got the right to tell. Like, if you want to have something at your wedding, like you can't demand that somebody change the format or the structure or how they're getting a wedding to accommodate. I want a political rally, so you have to accommodate. No, it doesn't matter how important it is to you. Like, you can't expect people to value the things that you value. No, you can't expect that. Okay. Alarming weather. Am I the arsehole for the way I reacted to my friend's pregnancy? Maybe. Did you tell her that she had the spawn of Satan in her? Then probably. I would say so. What happened? What happened, alarming weather? So I'm a 22-year-old university student, and almost all of my friends are 18 to 25-year-old students, recent graduates living in my uni town. Also, almost all of my friends are LGBTQI+, and in queer relationships, so there's rarely a pregnancy scare in my friend groups, but when there is, it is always a negative thing. Well, pregnancy, it depends how they feel about the pregnancy, really, doesn't it? I mean, pregnancy scare? One of the closest friends to my hometown is 31-year-old Sadie, who is a heterosexual woman. In the 10 years I've been friends with her, she has never had a serious or long-term relationship, just a series of situationships and one-night stands. Okay, well, that's a bit... Okay, sure. Yeah. She is financially stable and supports herself, is not a student, but she has always said she never wants kids and never wants to settle down. I stayed in my uni town over the summer. Is that a thing, a uni town? What is that? A uni town, a university town, a town for the university? Like, what is this thing? An entire town just for the university? Or is that just the town the university is located in? Somebody advise me. I don't understand this. Is the university a town in and unto itself? Or are we just talking the town that the university is situated in? I need an American to find out what it is, because I don't understand. Anyway, they stayed in the uni town, which is either a university that's a literal freaking town or just the town the university is in, over the summer while I finished my master's. So I hadn't seen Sadie for a while, but we talk every day and she's never said anything about getting into a relationship. 2 weeks ago, we didn't talk for 3 days and I was getting worried about her, and she texted me randomly at 3 a.m. I'm pregnant. So I responded, oh shit, are we happy or sad about this? Who's the father? Because I didn't want to celebrate too soon, as everything I've known about her makes she think that she wouldn't be happy about this. Okay, no, that's fair. She didn't respond, but over 24 hours later, she called to chew me out over the phone, telling me why I couldn't just be happy for her, and that is really rude and disrespectful to ask the questions I did. Well, no, it's not. If someone says, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm going to go, well, congratulations. Are you going to have it? Or, like, I get why she asked what she asked. I don't. College towns are the area around the University of the Nebula. Okay, gotcha. All right, so it's not like the university is not a town. Okay, I gotcha. Thank you, Jer. I appreciate it. Okay. I told her none of our other friends would be happy about it. Well, I don't. It depends if she's happy. Yeah, and she's always spoken about how she didn't want kids. So I just want to make sure I was reacting properly, and she didn't sound positive about it in her message. She said I was psychoanalyzing her, and she's an adult, and she can do whatever she wants, and if I'm going to be negative, she doesn't need me in her life. Well, that's an extreme reaction. If she told me she was happy about it, I would have been happy for her, supportive. I just didn't know. She also said she trusted me by telling me she hadn't told anyone else, and was also really invasive of me to ask about her sex life. In our entire friendship, she's always told me about her sex life because we are open like this. And then she hung up on me and we haven't spoken since. She's ignored all my texts and calls. Am I the arsehole? I'm worried I lost a close friend over this, and we've never fought like this before. But also, I don't know if what I said was wrong, so I just want to get an outside opinion. Thanks. No, you just asked if, are we happy about this? And do you know who the father is? Like, that's okay. I think that the person who she's talking to is really mind reading about this. That she's like, oh, she's trying to say that I'm a slut, maybe. No, she's just wondering, like, pregnancy can be amazing and wonderful. It can also be like a unexpected pregnancy can be, a disaster. I don't, that's why people use contraception, because they don't want to get pregnant. I don't know this is necessarily automatically just the most amazing thing in the world. I don't see a problem with asking. I really think that your friend is being overreactive about this. I think this has gotten much like this. This is much more than just the question that you asked, to be honest with you. I really think it is. And that's, maybe I'm psychoanalyzing now, but I don't think it's just the question that you asked. I think it's got more to do. Sorry, I was out all day and want to answer 3 questions I've seen the most. We actually became friends aged 13 and 21. Actually became friends aged 13 and 21 in a 21 was friends with a 13-year-old in February 2015. So nearly 10 years, not a full 10 years. She was almost 22 at the time. We met online in a fandom and found out later we live in the same city. Nothing weird has ever gone on. Also, I'm in the UK, started uni at 18, just finishing up my master's 22 and 23 in November. Nothing weird has ever gone on. That's a weird declaration to make. Also, she still has not texted him back. Thanks for all your comments. I'm going home for Christmas, and if we haven't spoken by then, I'll see if she wants to meet up. Yeah. Well, I mean, you met in a fandom. It's a bit weird, but sure. What? Okay. Well, I don't think you've done anything wrong, mate. She's the older one of all of this. She's the older one. I don't know why she's. Look, I really think this has got more to do. I think she's done nothing wrong. I think that this probably has more to do with how your friend feels than the question you asked. I mean, sometimes we can say stuff or ask things to people, and their reaction is really about how they're feeling, not about how you're feeling, kind of thing. At the same time, I get that you want to support your friend, and if someone's just gotten pregnant, that's a time when they kind of do need support and love and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, if she wants to go it alone, that's her choice. But you've done nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. If someone says, I'm pregnant, and you say, hey, are we happy or sad about this? Is this unexpected, or is this something you planned? And do you know who the father is? That's not weird at all. Those are two pretty normal questions. Like, as long as you're not sort of, oh, do you know who the father is, to shame them? And maybe they took it that way, sort of the shaming of people that don't have sort of, relationships that are stable. Long-term relationships. That's, people shouldn't be shamed for that. I don't know. It's weird. Not the arsehole, given the closeness of your relationship and her stance on marriage, motherhood, and relationships, and the fact that she is at 3 a.m. Bad news hours. Yeah, that's a very good point. 3 a.m. you rarely get like, oh, I had the best day today. Yeah, 3 a.m. is generally, oh shit, I need my best friend. Yeah, no, I get you. That's a very good point, Fleur the least. I very, very good point. You get a call at 3 a.m., it's rarely good news. Asking what you did is perfectly reasonable. I have a newlywed friend who sent me a picture of a document from a doctor informing she was fact pregnant. She captioned it, "What the fuck?" And my response was, "How do we feel about this?" There was no question who the daddy was, so that was one issue that was never on the table. And you know what? The moment she wasn't happy, she was shocked and thrown off. She had several plans. She was off for a few days. Yeah, baby's here. Well, we're all thrilled. Yeah, your feelings can change towards a pregnancy. Sure. I guess the father that probably made her feel judged. Yeah, that's possibly the problem. She might be wrestling with a really bad decision, a really horrible decision. Do I keep the baby or do I terminate? It might be a huge issue for her. So she might think that you were just, flippant when you shouldn't have been. I'm wondering about the health of this relationship. She's 31, OP is 22. Been friends for 10 years, so 21 and 12. What 21-year-old has a 12-year-old close friend? Yeah, I don't. OP says her friend has always been open about her sexual relationships with her. That's a good point. Ugh. So a 12-year-old girl and 21-year-old was open to us. Yeah. That's a bit weird. Granted. But we take these as they're written, not reading into them, and sort of not reading into it. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's just asked a couple of questions. That's all. Maybe it's something they're doing. Maybe they expected you to have a certain reaction, and if that's the case, that's their issue. It's not yours. That's their issue. They're not. If they're setting something up to get a certain reaction out of you, that's not your problem. It's not your responsibility to give any kind of reaction. Your reaction was fine. I don't have a problem with it. The response of, oh shit, are we happy or sad about this? Is not a great response, but not serious enough to destroy a friendship. Weird. And yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree, Big Bad Mama. It's not a great response, but it's not even bad. It's just, it's something you would expect a close friend to ask. I'm not a person who is a good friend. If I get into an argument like this friend, I'm usually just like, bye, Felicia, and cut my losses. I don't usually work to try and keep friendships. Yeah, it depends. It depends. I must admit, if my boundaries are violated, I will just go, no. If I talk to them and they don't care that they violated my boundaries or they're unrepentant, I'm just like, no, I'm not having this person in my life to violate those boundaries again. If they're sort of like, well, I'm sorry, and we can work it out, then that's fine. So I do try, I guess. If I feel like that they're, won't, if I feel like that they will do it again, nope, not allowing you to. Yeah, I don't even think they've got any blame, Stacey, to be honest with you. I would probably disagree. I mean, I agree that it's certainly not an arsehole, but I think that, you know, who's got a good response at 3 a.m. in the morning? Like who responds well and in a you know, a good manner at 3 a.m. in the morning? Nobody does. You know, I think that we're expecting this what 22-year-old to come out with, you know, charms of wisdom at 3 a.m. in the morning. You know, I don't. I think it's perfectly fine. You know, I think if she was angry, she could just say, "Hey, I expected a, you know, better response," and it probably would have been, "I'm sorry, like I didn't know what you expected." I don't think there's a problem with that. I really don't think so. So the poll says, "What do you say, my little people?" Yep, original poster did the right thing. I kind of agree. I kind of agree. Yeah, I agree. I was going to run this at 2 hours, but there is a lot of talking in this. I do concede. I am talking a lot. So I might run it for an hour and a half. How does that sound? There is a yes, I'll upvote that. So I guess I'll probably just do one more and then we can get out of this. I also had a really, I was going to do a election review, like a live election review, but I had a bit of a scratchy throat yesterday. I was actually going to go on a panel with over at Skeptic Spin, but I kind of had a really scratchy throat, so I may not be 100% over it. I feel okay. It's just this is a lot of talking, I got to say. Emotion honest 4244. What do you got for us? What have you got for us? Am I the arsehole for criticizing my girlfriend's spending behavior? Your girlfriend? Yes. If you're talking about your partner in a household, no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. And it depends how you're doing it. That's an intricate question. I don't think yeah, I totally agree, Stacey. I totally agree. I compare that with the Biden response, and I'm just like, that is totally, you know, it's not even comparable. The amazingness of it. But what I'll try to do is I'll run it by Ember, but I'll try to do a debate dissection on Saturday night Eastern time on the presidential debate, which would be fantastic. But I'll see if she's okay with it, and then go for it. So I might be talking a lot about that one because I was watching it with my wife on the couch, and I was literally hitting the couch. I was so frustrated. I was really frustrated by that entire thing. So yeah. My girlfriend comes from a well-off family, but they're not necessarily super rich. They just have a small construction company with about 100 to 200 employees. Oh, they just own a small construction company with, you know, 150 employees. They're not super rich. Yeah, that's a pretty big company. I think that's sufficiently rich to say they're rich. However, her spending behavior since we've been dating has been enormous. For instance, she was often spend 10K on a single trip to a boutique like Hermes or Louis Vuitton. The other thing is she enjoys luxury vacations. Last year, she spent around 100K on these vacations. It's also not that I am jealous. It's also not that I am jealous. That's a weird sentence. For instance, she has gifted me a Cartier Santos watch, even though I didn't ask for it or anything. Yeah, okay, I get that. She's giving you expensive gifts. Well, sure. Okay. I just told her I feel she should be more conscious of her spending behavior, and why does she need to go to places where one night costs $10,000? I'm sure you can find rooms that are almost as good in other places for a few $100s. It just seems so unnecessary to me, and it's building bad habits to spend too much money on things that are not necessary at all. It would be better invest the money or found a business with it or something like that. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. But, you know, it's kind of, you can't tell anybody how to spend their money. And you may not think she deserves the money. Maybe it came from her parents and things like that. Sure, sure. But, you can't say, hey, you can't spend it on. And you can suggest it, sure. But, um, sure. I mean, you feel she should be more conscious of her spending behavior. Okay. When I brought it up, she claimed I should lighten up and that spending a bit of money was not a big deal. She claimed I was probably not used to it because I grew up poor, even though I didn't. My father is a pilot and my mother works at a library and can't relate to the lifestyle. Well, that poor is kind of a relative term, isn't it? Compared to her with the construction company and spending all this money, you are poor compared to them. Is it am I the arsehole? I just feel it's unnecessary and frivolous. No, discussing it, no. But at the same time, you can't make her do anything. But just bringing it up isn't a problem. Why would you be an arsehole for that? I don't. If you're feeling guilty, you shouldn't. You have, like, as long as this. So you have a mentality about wealth and spending that is different from hers. Now, if it doesn't interfere with your relationship, so be it. She's just your girlfriend. The problem is going forward, like when you actually, if you get married or become, live together and be partners in this life, then it becomes an issue because, where she puts her money will affect you. That's when you have to have a conversation to say, hey, you're spending this money when it could be helping us build a house or, going towards, investing in something to secure our future. Or, if you're having kids, it could go towards their college funds, But if you've just got a girlfriend, that's the time where you should be discussing, hey, this is my values, this is your values. Can we make this work together? If it's it may be a deal breaker for you that she is so frivolous and spends money. You should never expect anybody else to provide for you. Maybe you do have a trust fund. Maybe you've got, your girlfriend spending all this money and just having a rich parents kind of thing. It can run out. It can run out in a second. The company can go bust. Her parents have no money. They're not giving her money anymore. And she's got to adapt rapidly after that. This whole lighten up kind of thing. Sure. If you're happy to get the gifts and enjoy your life, that's cool. It's only if you are looking at having a long-term serious relationship where your financials are affected by her and vice versa that you really have to have a conversation about where your properties lie, your priorities lie. And that's a conversation you're going to have. I don't think this was, you're not an arsehole. You're just like, hey, I feel like this is frivolous and unnecessary. Sure, probably is. Probably 100% is. I kind of agree, but at the same time, do I have a right to tell people how to spend their money? No, I don't. I hate to break it to you, but your girlfriend's family is super rich. Not even a regular wealthy people spend 100K on vacations in a year. Yeah, no, she's rich. She's super rich. I don't know where he gets the idea that, like, she's well off when they own a construction company with, like, 100 to 200 employees. I don't know where he's getting this idea. Info, why are her spending habits important to you at the moment? She isn't spending your money, correct? The only way it would be an issue if you're planning on getting married. I think if you're cohabitating as well, like you're getting into a serious relationship, it's probably something that you should bring up. It's sort of well, if you're in de facto marriage, right? Like de facto relationship. So if you're unaware, I'm not sure, it might be called common law if you're in England. Like if you're basically living together and you're all but in, marriage certificate married, you're living together, you share everything, de facto marriage. Doesn't seem likely as you're financially incompatible. So why not just chill and let her do a thing? ETA judgment based upon your results. I wonder if the OP has actually gotten back to him. No, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, unless you're unless you're planning on getting married, but you're the asshole. You're a boyfriend, not a husband. It is not your money. And yes, this reeks of jealousy. You do not get to control her money, her time, or her decision. How she spends her money is up to you. Leave her to her luxuries if you can't handle it. Oh, for fuck's sake, really? No. You can talk about things in a relationship. This is so silly. Like, what the hell? I if you're a boyfriend, you still can give opinions on things. Like, come on. Does her spending negatively impact you? Is she putting herself in debt with her spending? Is that you feel it's necessarily in frivolous? You're the asshole. It's her money. She doesn't get to say. Also, 100, 200 is not a small. Yeah. That's not small. Not small. What's Jack got to say? Andrea says it's reckless spending for sure. It should be discussed, but not necessarily in a judging or paternalistic manner. Yeah, absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think that but it doesn't sound like he did that. So, taking it at face value, and aren't you totally? Some people will, obviously we're only going to see what he thinks rather than, how anybody else interprets it. But, just telling somebody that you feel that if they're spending something as frivolous and unnecessary, that is not anywhere out of line, in my opinion. That's just, hey. Big Bad Mama says this relationship is going nowhere. They're not compatible, and economics will always be an issue towards them. Well, I don't know that for sure. You could be right, though. That could be right. If you cannot bridge that divide, if you feel like somebody is wasting money and the other person just wants to spend whatever they want, then yeah, that's not really going anywhere. But does a relationship have to go somewhere? That's the thing. I think as long as both people are honest about it, a short-term relationship is exactly that. The way that she talks about it, just have fun. It's just, have some fun. If you want more, maybe somebody else is better suited for you if you can't agree on that. Totally. But that's up to him. And Sarah Quell says she got her bag, sort of. I don't think it's her bag. I think it's her parents' bag, to be honest with you. But maybe I'm just a suspicious man. Maybe I'm just a suspicious man. Well, yeah. So that'll do it. I forgot how much this rips up my throat. Totally forgot. So I was going to go for a couple of hours, but I might call it an hour and a half. I'm not sure how long the others went for, actually. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. I'm trying to gauge whether I have a sore throat and I can't go as long as I used to. That's what she said. Or whether it's always been an hour and a half. It may have always been an hour and a half. I'm not 100% sure. Where's my playlist? Let's see. Oh no, one was about 2 hours. Second one was an hour and a half. Yeah, actually, they vary 2 hours roughly. Okay. Oh, and the last one was an hour? Okay. Well, then screw it. I'll do one more then. I'll do one more. Surprise. Surprise. Um, Did I get the votes on that? Am I completely... No, I'll do one more. I'll do one more. Just to give the people what they want. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. Yep. I'm trying to sort of get into it again and get on top of it again. That's what she said. Again. All right, peeps. Last one. Material Born 1116. Am I the asshole for kicking my cousin out over a Reddit post? Yeah, probably. Kicking your cousin out over a Reddit post. How? Why? How could that possibly be like, oh, well, there's nothing else going wrong, but that Reddit post, that is the final straw. I mean, if it's the final straw, I get it, but if like nothing else is wrong, then that's, well, let's find out. I, 28 female, and my husband, 29 male, hosted my cousin, 23 female, at our place since last summer because she wanted to find a job at our city and we were the only ones she knew. We aren't close, but my parents begged me to let her stay. Okay. My husband has very little native blood. He doesn't know the language or culture, but we did name our newborn after his grandfather. Just his middle name, fake names, John Jarajutian. That looks like an Aboriginal name, to be honest with you. This is Australian, right? Jarajujan. That is an Aboriginal name. Absolutely is. Absolutely is. Well, 5 months after our beautiful boy birth, I met up with an old colleague who showed me a screenshot of my boy's name on a subreddit specifically made fun of uncommon or misspelled names. Though the post has been deleted, my colleague screenshot it because she thought it sounded familiar. Okay. Uncommon or misspelled names. Okay, well, I mean, it's not really uncommon. It's just an Aboriginal name. It's not, you know, I don't. In the comments, Sharon Park, the OP has also made snickering comments. In the comments, she remarked the OP has also made snickering comments on my child's names with people cheering her on. We dug a little further. I'm not sure about the tense of that one, Chief. We dug a little further and I could confirm it was my cousin's profile from her interest to her pictures post. Me and my husband confronted her about it, and she said majority agreed with her that it was a stupid and horrendous name. Wow, that's kind of racist. She also said it didn't matter that it was a cultural name since my husband can't speak and isn't even involved in the culture. My husband was livid and we decided to kick her out. She has since blasted us on Facebook and family group chat to kick her out in a foreign city since she was jobless and we're setting up our son for failure with names like that. No, they're not. Hang on a second. It's his middle name. What are you talking about? We didn't name our newborn after his grandfather, just his middle name. John Jared Jarden Harrison. You know he's going to go through life as John Harrison, not John Jarrett John. And then, yeah, it's very difficult to say. I got it, but you know, you can ask him how to say it and make an effort. What the hell? She also said she was doing us a favor. Yeah, it's Australian, definitely. See that? How do I know it's Australian? Because of you. Because of you, I know it's Australian. Could be English as well, I get you, but you know, it's Australian. She said she was doing us a favor by showing us how horrible of a name it was. However, I don't see that as the case, as it was posted almost a year ago, and she seems to have no intention to reveal it to it otherwise. So I would like to know, am I really the asshole? Probably not. No, that is just open racism. Like, seriously, that's just absolute racism. Like, you can pretend, oh well, it's a bad name. No, it's not. It's lovely that they've acknowledged their culture. You know, the culture that he feels associated with. That's just open fucking racism. Why is the name Harrison any more acceptable than that name? There's no reason except for that's the culture we've been raised in. Wow. Edit. I saw the post in the other subreddit. Let me clarify, the fake names was John and Harrison because it's very basic white names, like Daniel will be able to replace it, or Hemsworth. Jared Jajun is an actual name. There's a few of in my city. Okay, give me a second. I mean, we've got the internet, people. You can find out how to pronounce this. Jajunction. 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 I mean, it'll probably be anglicized, like Jajunction, but you know, it sort of is. You know, it's a perfectly fine name. It's his middle name. It's not. Yeah, it's not that hard. It's fine. Is it that you just don't want to pronounce it? And that sort of, oh, it's gonna drag them down. I set up son for failure. That sounds like racism to me, to be honest with you, which there's far too much of in Australia. Like, oh, if you're associated with native Australian or Aboriginal names, oh, you won't get a job and you won't get. No, absolutely not. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of, you know, where you're from. That's fine. And it is the actual name, yes. Yeah, so Mandawa Jajunction Yiningapu Yanangapingu Yanapingu. Yeah, that was that singer did there was a song. It was I don't remember what the song was. Treaty was the song. Yeah. I remember that song. Yeah, so this is just a you know, an Aboriginal name. It's just, yeah. The reason my husband is very distanced from his culture. Would you guys like to take a guess what Colonian did to the Australians Aboriginals? Yeah, so what this is a reference to, and you probably don't know this as Americans, this is something that's referred to as the stolen generation. So buckle up. If you want to hear something insanely immoral, I'll explain to you the stolen generation. The stolen generation was a generation of Aboriginal people starting in about the 1940s to 1950s. Basically, the government deemed Aboriginal families not to be able to support their children in a way that was acceptable to them. And they essentially took almost an entire generation of Aboriginal children from their parents and raised them as in the proper white way, kind of thing. This is a big mark of shame for Australia. It severed a lot of the ties their people had with their elders and their ancestors. There's a lot of people with Aboriginal who are descendants of Aboriginals going back to the tribes that they're originally from, that we find out through genetic testing to reconnect with their ancestral roots, to be taught what their history and their traditions and their culture were. Because it's not a case of Aboriginal culture. They each had their own culture, like the Native Americans each had their own culture. But we call it the stolen generation, and the government basically acknowledged it, said sorry, apologized, and we try to understand the impact that this had on the generations of Australians that were taken from their families and basically they were culturally assimilated forcefully. So your husband wanting to connect his child with that culture, I think that he is perfectly within his rights to say, I will not have somebody who is racist, and it is racist to say that's a bad name. That's his ancestors. If you said, like, if someone goes, well, I want to name you my child after my grandfather, William Boland or something, right? Just some random name, William Harrison, and you say, well, that's a terrible name. You're like, F you. That's part of where I came from. How dare you? And it's racist to sort of say, well, that kind of name would set you up for failure in life. Yeah, she's just a racist. Ditch her. Like, seriously, I do not blame them for not wanting a toxic racist under their house, like under their roof. Forget it. That's horrible. And they don't owe you a place to stay, right? They don't owe you anything. Just because you're a cousin doesn't mean she can get away with that kind of thing. So obviously she wants to find a job. She's probably not paying to be there. Even if she was, she doesn't have a rental agreement. She's just couch surfing or something. Absolutely not the arsehole, in my opinion. Absolutely not. But we remember the stolen generation. We apologize on behalf of the government that took those poor kids away from their parents and forcefully removed them. Oh, hey, Robin. Robin, you need how many more subs? You need 9 more subs to get to 100. Okay. Well, Big Bad Mama gave you 4. I'll see if I think I've only got a couple of accounts, but I think I'm subbed to you on both of them. But I'll see what I can do. But it's great to see you, Robin. Yeah, no, we remember that. We try to remember, and we don't make excuses for it. And if somebody who has Aboriginal blood wants to acknowledge his ancestors and the people that he descended from by giving I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. I think that, as the parents, you can do whatever you want. I don't think it sets you up for failure. I think it acknowledges where you came from, which is wonderful. I think this girl is just a fucking racist. Sets you up for failure. It's his middle name. Like, he probably, so terrible. Okay. So vote, and we'll see what some people think. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They'd probably end up with a name like DJ. Yeah, absolutely. DJ or knowing Aussies, it'd probably be DJ or something. Didja. And that's okay. We get nicknames. It's all good. Hell, there's some people whose names I can't pronounce. They just anglicize it and get on with it. It's not a great big deal. Hell, like, most people end up like Davo is a name because just Australians refuse to say David for some reason, or Miko or Mick, or like, that's his name's Michael. They still don't say the full frigging name. Like, it's just, you know, 100% chance it happened there. You are wrong. This racism is Australian racism. The worst kind of racism. Well, I don't know about the worst. They're all pretty bad, aren't they? Who needs more subs? Robin needs more subs. Robin, could you post your channel link if you can? Could you post your channel link for everybody? Oh, I'll get it. I should have it somewhere near the top. There we go. There we go. Let's get Robin to 100. This is now turned into the Robin hits 100 stream. I will change the name later. There we go. Yeah, and I'll jump on the thing later. I wish I could upload this twice. You are absolutely not at fault. Not the arsehole. She has since blasted us on Facebook and on family group chat to kick her out of foreign to she was jobless and setting us up for failure with names like that. She also said she was doing us a favor by showing how horrible a name was. However, I don't see the case posted a year ago. Your cousin abused your hospitality by making fun of your son's middle name. There is no excuse for this. She effed around and found out the consequences. Yeah, I kind of agree. You want to be a racist? Fuck around and find out. Yeah. I don't have any sympathy for people that are that abusive. You know, like that's just abusive. And she never did plan on telling you about the post. She was just looking for likes and followers in her profile. Maybe, or maybe she's just a fucking racist. It's possible. I don't know. And I would like to say I don't judge. I 100% judge. Racism is not cool. Not the arsehole. She chose to fuck around and find out. Yep, absolutely. Not the arsehole. Your cousin crossed a huge line by publicly mocking your child's name, especially when it has cultural significance. Yes, this cultural significance. Her saying, "Hey, your husband doesn't speak the language, isn't culturally involved." That's not up to you to decide. And if he wants to acknowledge his ancestors, that's not up to you to decide. Instead of apologizing, yeah, she could have just apologized and said, "Hey, I did it a year ago. I was an idiot." You know, she doubled down and continued to insult you and your family. Yeah, she sure did. You were doing her a favor by letting her to stay. And she repaid you with disrespect. It's completely reasonable to ask her to leave after that. Absolutely. No, it's completely reasonable to demand she leave after that. Her behavior on social media just shows how ungrateful and entitled she is. Yeah, I kind of agree. You did the right thing by standing up for your family. Yeah, I kind of agree. Not the arsehole, and that subreddit is not for mocking meaningful middle names with cultural background specifications. Oh, interesting. Wanted to mention that it's for misspellings and invented names. Cultural names are fine as long as they're written in the way they're supposed to be written. Okay. Unfortunately, you find racists all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that they're actually using the Reddit thread wrong because, you know, not the arsehole. You open your home to her because the family asked you to. She takes the opportunity to drag you over social media about something that is none of her business. Instead of apologizing, she chose to double down on disrespecting you in your home. My family hated me my entire life, and I've never been disrespected at any point. I don't understand people that take their families for granted. It's disgusting. I'm sorry you and your husband are dealing with this. Ignore her and anyone that agrees with her. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I think it's an awesome name. I think it's lovely that your husband is acknowledging the ancestry of where he came from, and the whole thing about that kind of name sets you up for failure. No, it doesn't. No, absolutely not. No way. It doesn't set you up for failure. It's just a name. Only with racists. And if somebody won't hire you on the basis that your name is too native, fuck them. You don't want to work for them anyway. But yeah, that shouldn't happen. You know, that's something that should not happen. I think it's awesome. You go, girl. Well, I can't imagine how your husband felt. You know, he makes this wonderful gesture of acknowledgement to his ancestors and to the culture that she suggests has been denied to him through the stolen generation. He might have been either the a son or a grandson of one of the stolen generation. And you're a racist in this house? Yeah, get her the fuck out. Like, seriously. Boundaries. Yeah. Hopefully she is young. She's 23, so she's young. Hopefully she wakes up, to what she's doing. Hopefully, hopefully. But that was the last one. I'm gonna call it there. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Am I the Arsehole? It's back due to popular demand, due to people asking me. Yes, it has returned. This is an unusual day. It will be yesterday or yesterday night. It's just that the presidential debate, and thank you, Robin, for telling me I'd scheduled it during the presidential debate. So, nobody was going to be there. So thank you so much, Robin. But it will be Tuesday night, Eastern time, or Wednesday morning, my time, in the future. Definitely going to be on the Wednesday, so don't worry about that. It was just this one, of course, my big premiere of the returning thing I put on the biggest night for a debate in the entire year. Of course I did that. I mean, you should expect it by now. That's the kind of thing I would do. That's exactly the kind of thing I would do. What do I have coming up? So on tomorrow, we've got the Fundamentalist Fail. It was actually a guy that I ran across, put something in his comments. So it's kind of a personal one to me because you responded in the comments, and I'd like to go through all of that. But it really is just some of the worst apologetics. It's terrible. Yes, Catherine, correct. Yes. So the Irish were banned. They weren't considered white. So what you've got to understand about the sort of the idea of Caucasians and white people is that excluded people like the Irish and Italians who, we consider white nowadays, but they weren't back then. So racism has come a long way, not far enough, obviously. And considering what happened in the debate, which, to tie that in, on Sunday, I'm going to ask Ember to do the presidential debate for the debate dissection. So I really would like to do that, and we'll go through step by step, count up where everything happened, and and do that. So that I would really like to do. Hopefully we'll get that done. I will post about it if I do get it set up. Aside from that, yeah. Watch your debate with Kent from 2 years ago. Yeah. That really that was an amazing debate because Kent is I can't he's kind of easy to debate because he's like a broken record, Spielka. He basically will say the same things over and over and over. Absolutely. So I was very well prepared, and he has these tricks that he used that I was very, very well prepared for. So thank you. I appreciate it. I think that one went really well. But I've said on the matter of debating Kent Hovind again, I will debate him after his current conviction and appeal for domestic violence is resolved. Okay, I'm not going to debate somebody who's got a domestic violence conviction and is waiting on appeal. No, that man deserves to be in prison at the moment. I don't know how he managed to wrangle such a long appeals process and wrangle not being, incarcerated or at least confined while he's being convicted. But I don't want to debate somebody who's currently convicted of domestic violence. If he appeals and he overturns the conviction, then I will think about it. But I don't think that it's appropriate to be debating stuff when you're convicted of domestic violence. I think that's awful. But yeah. Oh, he did? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a yeah, am I the asshole? So it's a Reddit post where people go, "Am I the asshole for doing this?" I wanted something that wasn't so crude, so I called it "Am I morally bankrupt or them?" And that works out to be aimbot, which I was very pleased about. I thought that was fun. So yeah, that's what I do. But working from a secular morality point and sort of a consequentialism and utilitarianism sort of point. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed doing this, but I think my voice is a bit scratchy and I'm sort of losing it a little. So before I kill myself, I'm going to go. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. Sure, be kind to people, but be kind to yourself. If you have boundaries, be kind to yourself in maintaining them and insisting that people don't cross those boundaries. I think a lot of people allow their boundaries to be crossed to help other people, like the first one where they were saying, hey, to keep the peace with the in-laws, I'm going to allow them to do this thing. It always breeds resentment. So, but for the moment, be kind to yourself enough to maintain those boundaries. Um, absolutely. But thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.